I'm gonna call you out right now. How many times have you felt like this photo of me on the left when you'd much rather feel like this photo of me on the right? I get it. I've been in your shoes. I realized that alcohol was ruining my life, so I decided to quit. And now 2 years into my sobriety journey, I want to share with you why I quit, the dangers and harms of alcohol, and the benefits of quitting, so that if you yourself have ever thought about quitting, or at least just cutting back, you will have the inspiration and knowledge to do so. Now let's see if you can relate to my story. Let's talk about one of my favorite topics, my childhood. My childhood, it was a little rough. I was raised by alcoholics, so I was constantly exposed to how terrible it can make a person behave. Being raised in this type of environment made me never ever want to drink because I saw what it did to people and I just never wanted to be anything like that. So I swore I would never drink until I got into college. I got curious, as college kids do, and I had my first drink of alcohol. I got drunk and I thought it was so fun. I continued to drink alcohol up until, well, 2 years ago. I wasn't nearly as extreme as most college kids are when they go out and party. I'd say I still lived a pretty balanced life. Like, I definitely wasn't an alcoholic or anything. And then when I graduated college, I moved to Italy, which, if you don't know, in Italy, there's wine everywhere. So I was drinking lots of wine, but still, I had everything under control, nothing to worry about. No reason for me to think about quitting. And then I moved to LA. When I moved to LA, that's where things really started to change. I got really into the rave scene, and that's where things started to get questionable for me. Because when I got into the rave scene, I was partying every weekend. Every weekend, I would go out, drink, have at least 3, 4, 5 drinks. I was burning through money. I was doing a lot of stupid things. It just started to get really bad where I felt like it was impacting my mental health to the point where I thought about quitting. Let me give you an example of something really stupid I did while I was drinking. I was at a concert. It was a stadium, a football stadium. I remember I got so drunk that I fell into the next row below me. I hurt my ankle so bad that we literally had to leave the concert early and my friend had to carry me out. That's when I was like, okay. Honestly, that could have been a lot worse and I'm grateful that it wasn't a lot worse, but did I want to take that chance and see what would happen if I kept drinking and see how it could get a lot worse? Not really, no. I feel like I actually got out pretty lucky. There had been times where I had literally been left alone in Hollywood by myself because I would be going out with the wrong people that got too drunk and they literally left me there. There were so many moments where I realized that I was not very safe. I just didn't want to put myself in that environment anymore. Fitness is a huge part of my life. I remember I had this goal to bench 135 and I failed and I failed and I failed again. And I was just so sick of failing and I felt so terrible about myself. Lots of body dysmorphia. Just my exercise performance and the way I felt in my body was not healthy. And let's not even get started with my anxiety because, oh my God, listen, I was diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder when I first started going to therapy. So I've always been an anxious person, but my anxiety was through the roof. Have you ever heard of hangxiety? If you haven't, it's basically when you wake up with a hangover and you have a lot of anxiety about the things you did last night. Because who here has done something stupid that they were ashamed of when they drank? If you ain't raising your hand, you're a goddamn liar. I just started realizing the more I felt hungover, anxious, also depressed. I was also feeling very depressed. And the more I wasn't seeing the progress I wanted to see in the gym, the more all these negative things were happening and my mental health was suffering. I wasn't as productive as I wanted to be. I was sick of feeling all that. I just started to have less and less fun because I think a lot of the reason that people drink is because they want to have fun. That was probably the main reason. I also think I was just unhappy. I think I was trying to mask a lot of feelings, which is very common. I feel like you could probably relate if you've ever used alcohol as a crutch. Every time I'd go out and not have fun, I got closer and closer to making that decision to quit. But I was really scared to tell anybody that I wanted to quit because I was scared that I wouldn't be able to actually follow through with it and I would miss it and I would go back to it. And I absolutely hate being a person that says they're gonna do something and doesn't follow through. I wanted to be for sure that I was definitely committed to quitting before I quit. I remember the last time I drank alcohol, I just woke up the next day. I watched this video from Andrew Huberman, which I'm going to show you some clips of. And after watching that video, my decision was made. I'm quitting. A lot of people, I feel like, have had that experience where you have the worst hangover ever. And you're like, that's it. This is the last time I'm drinking alcohol. I'm done. But you weren't really done, were you? You weren't really done. But I was serious about this. I was really done. And since that day, I have not had a sip of alcohol. Now, getting back to that video that I watched that made me quit. Speaking of that video, let's talk about the harms and dangers of alcohol. If you don't know who Andrew Huberman is, he's a neuroscientist and a professor at Stanford University. So for a lot of these points, I'm probably just gonna put in clips of him talking about it because, girl, I ain't no neuroscientist. So firstly, I want to say I think a misconception of alcohol that a lot of people have is as long as it's in moderation, it's not going to hurt me, right? Well, research has actually shown otherwise, that even in moderate amounts, it can still disrupt your brain.
I just want to answer a commonly asked question about alcohol consumption and the brain. And the question that so often comes up is whether or not low to moderate amounts of alcohol, so maybe 1 drink a day or 1 or 2 drinks a day kind of thing, whether or not that is bad for your brain. Finally address the question of whether or not low to moderate amounts of alcohol consumption can cause brain degeneration. What this study did is it looked at the brains, both the gray matter and the white matter, of more than 30,000, indeed more than 35,000 generally healthy middle-aged and older adults who were drinking various amounts of alcohol. What they found was that even for people that were drinking low to moderate amounts of alcohol, so 1 or 2 drinks per day, there was evidence of thinning of the neocortex, so loss of neurons in the neocortex and other brain regions.
So I feel like everybody knows alcohol is bad for them, right? Sure, but nobody really cares until they actually do the research like I did and figure out, why is it bad for you though? What is it actually doing to your body? What is the scientific process that is happening? How is it actually harming you?
When you drink alcohol, it can pass into all the cells and tissues of your body. It has no trouble just passing right into those cells. So unlike a lot of substances and drugs that actually attach to the surface of cells, to receptors as they're called, little parking spots, and then trigger a bunch of downstreams, like domino cascades of effects, alcohol actually has its own direct effects on cells because it can really just pass into those cells. The fact that it can pass into so many organs and cells so easily is really what explains its damaging effects. It produces substantial stress and damage to cells because when you ingest ethanol, it has to be converted into something else because it is toxic to the body. And there's a molecule inside of all of us called NAD. NAD and related biochemical pathways are involved in converting that ethanol into something called acetaldehyde. It's broken down into acetaldehyde. And if you thought ethanol was bad, acetaldehyde is particularly bad. Acetaldehyde is poison. It will kill cells. It damages and kills cells, and it is indiscriminate as to which cells it damages and kills. Now, that's a problem, obviously, and the body deals with that problem by using another component of the NAD biochemical pathway to convert acetaldehyde into something called acetate. Acetate is actually something that your body can use as fuel. And that process of going from ethanol to acetaldehyde to acetate does involve the production of a toxic molecule, right? Again, acetaldehyde is really toxic. If your body can't do this conversion of ethanol to acetaldehyde to acetate fast enough, well, acetaldehyde will build up in your body and cause more damage. The key thing to understand here is that when you ingest alcohol, you are, yes, ingesting a poison, and that poison is converted into an even worse poison in your body. Now, the important thing to understand is that it is the poison, the acetaldehyde itself, that leads to the effect of being inebriated or drunk. I think most people don't realize that being drunk is actually a poison-induced disruption in the way that your neural circuits work.
When people are drunk, they kind of act, well, for lack of better words, like idiots. But when you learn that being drunk is basically being poisoned, it kind of makes sense. Your cancer risk is so much higher when you drink alcohol.
Associated with a significant increase in cancer risk, in particular breast cancer, and in particular because breast tissue is present in both males and females, but in women, it's especially vulnerable to some of the DNA methylation changes. Well, breast cancer in women has a relationship to alcohol intake, and alcohol intake has a relationship to breast cancer in women. In fact, there has been proposed to be anywhere from 4 to 13% increase in risk of breast cancer for every 10 grams of alcohol consumed. How much is 10 grams? Well, there we need to think a little bit about the variation in the amount of alcohol in different drinks across the world. Different countries serve different size drinks and have different concentrations of alcohol in those drinks. In the US, 1 beer, which generally is 12 ounces, 1 glass of wine or a shot of liquor tends to include about 10 to 12 grams of alcohol. What does this mean? Well, what we're talking about is that for every 10 grams of alcohol consumed, so that's 1 beer in the US, there's a 4 to 13% increase in risk of cancer. That's pretty outrageous, right? And you might think, wait, how could it be that this stuff is even legal?
As I'm sure you've felt if you've ever drank alcohol, it increases stress, depression, and anxiety, even when you're not drinking.
People who drink regularly, so this again could be just 1 or 2 drinks per night, or it could be somebody that drinks just on Fridays or just on Saturdays or maybe just on the weekend, 2 to 4 drinks. Well, those people experience changes in their hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis that result in more cortisol, more of this so-called stress hormone being released at baseline when they are not drinking. This is really important. People who drink a bit, and when I say a bit, I don't mean 1 or 2 sips or even a glass of wine every once in a while. I mean, again, people that are maybe having 1 drink a night with dinner and maybe on the weekend a few more. All of those groups experience increases in cortisol release from their adrenal glands when they are not drinking. And as a consequence, they feel more stressed and more anxiety when they aren't drinking.
And the sad part is there are so many other ways that alcohol can harm you, so many more diseases that can come from it, so many more negative things, but I could be here probably for hours talking about all the negative side effects of alcohol. So I think let's move into something positive. The benefits of quitting. One of the first and biggest benefits I've noticed, which I think a lot of people care about this one, you will save hella money. Especially if you live in an expensive city where drinks can be up to $20, $30 per drink, you will save so much money. I actually got this app, it's called I Am Sober. It's not sponsored. However, Probably should be, huh? The reason this app is so cool is because you can see how much money you've saved ever since you quit a habit. This really does sound like it's sponsored, but it's not, I swear. I wish it was. Let's do one of my favorite things, math. That was sarcasm. I hate math. Let's be conservative here. Let's say I bought a drink that was $12 and I bought 3 of those drinks every night I went out. And let's say I went out Friday and Saturday night every weekend. Do you want to know how much money that saves me without doing that for 2 years? How much do you think it is? Take a guess. Write your guess in the comments right now. The answer is almost $7,500. $7,500. And that's being conservative because I swear to God, I have literally paid like $20-$30 for a drink here before. And also, I have drank a lot more than that some weekends. Some weekends I would go out 3 nights, not just 2, 3. Sometimes I would have more than 3 drinks. That is still being conservative. And $7,500. Like, imagine the things you can do with that money. That can help me save up for a car, for a house. And I've said this in another video before about quitting alcohol, but if you divide that number in half, that comes out to $3,750 a year. So please tell me something that you would be willing to pay almost $4,000 a year for. I don't think there's many things that people would be willing to pay $4,000 a year for. Obviously, my performance in the gym and my physique has significantly improved. I actually started doing powerlifting after I quit alcohol and all my numbers skyrocketed. Remember how I told you earlier how I failed benching a plate 135 pounds multiple times? Guess what happened when I quit? I hit that goal. You'll also learn who your true friends are and you'll start to foster real connections because I had so many friends when I was going out and partying. I mean, everybody and anybody could be my friend at that point. I had no standards for friendships. It was just, can we get drunk together? Okay, cool. Then we can be friends. Even if they were a terrible person, which it's funny when you stop going out, you start to notice those people all stop talking to you as well. I did start to feel really sad at first, like I'm losing so many people. I'm gonna be alone. I'm not gonna have anybody to hang out with anymore. But then the more time passed, the more I realized that those just weren't the people that I need in my life right now. If they were real friends, they would be in my life whether I quit drinking or not. They would still be able to hang out with me doing something other than going out. Have you ever heard that saying, it's much better to have 4 quarters than 100 pennies? It really is. Just remember that if that scares you about quitting, if you are scared that you're gonna lose all your friends and they're not gonna think you're fun anymore, just remember if they're really your friends, they will be there no matter what, especially if you're doing something that benefits you. They would want you to take care of yourself too. My sleep has improved like crazy, which sleep is kind of like the root of everything. Like if you have good sleep, you're gonna have a good day. You're gonna be in a good mood. Your health is gonna be better. I feel like sleep is so overlooked, but there's so many important benefits to sleep that people don't realize. We all know when you go out and you're drinking all night, your sleep is pretty awful. You've been up all night, so you're not sleeping in the first place actually. But it's funny that alcohol can actually do something where it makes you feel like you're not tired, but actually your body is very physically tired and it's like masking that feeling of being tired. It can mask so many things, but yeah, it obviously improves your sleep because you're actually sleeping, and also the quality of your sleep will improve, and it's just amazing. My productivity since I stopped drinking has increased tenfold because no hangovers, duh. There is not one person on this earth that likes a hangover. Nobody likes a hangover. For me, a lot of my confidence and a lot of the time I feel the best about myself is when I'm getting shit done. I love getting shit done. I love it. I love being productive. I love working. That's just something that is a big part of my personality. So when I can't get anything done, I feel like shit about myself. And that's why my confidence has also improved. And it's also improved because I'm not thinking about stupid things that I did or said the other night when I was inebriated. And since I stopped drinking, this is definitely the most important one. My mental health has improved so much. And like I said, my physical health too, but oh my God, the amount of anxiety that I used to have is wild to compare to the amount of anxiety I have today, because it's like day and night. Like I feel like a whole new woman. I don't even recognize that woman looking back. When I look back at this woman, I see someone that was lost, that was scared, that just wanted to fit in, that wanted to have friends, that thought she was happy and thought she was having fun. And sometimes I was having a lot of fun. And I know that it was a phase that I had to go through in order to become the woman I am today. So I don't regret it at all. But when I look back at that woman, she was so hurt and she just wanted that pain to go away. And I look at her with empathy, just like I look at anybody. I don't judge people that drink because I look at anybody that is using it to escape. I look at them with empathy. And I just want you to know, if that relates to you, there is another way. I promise you, there's another way. You can get through your problems without just simply escaping them and running away from them, because let's be real, they don't go away from you just running away. The next day, they're still there. And probably they're even worse than they were, because when you don't confront things, you just let them build and build and build, they get worse. They don't get better. So I'm telling you, there is a way through this. If you are using alcohol or anything as a crutch, as a way to get through this pain that you're feeling, this is just a friendly, gentle reminder that you can make it through this without having to do that. You can make it through whatever it is you're going through without having to do that. Oh, I'm gonna get emo. I promised myself I wouldn't cry in this. But hey, here comes the waterworks. I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel like I want to quit, but I can't. But I'm telling you, you can if you really, really want to. If you really, really want to feel better, there's a way to feel better. And the fact that you're here and you watch this video, ooh, come on, get through this. Don't cry, girl. The fact that you're here and you watch this video, I'm so proud of you for taking that step, because that's a huge step to take. Is the fact that you just were curious, were interested, and you're doing research, and you could talk to a therapist about it, you can talk to a loved one about it, somebody that you trust. There are so many resources, and I obviously didn't have the level of addiction to alcohol that there are a lot of people that do have, so I can't tell you from that point of view. Like, I can't tell you as a professional. I'm not a professional in terms of like how to quit. I just want to give you tips and share my experience, because I feel like that could really help somebody out there. And when you quit, you feel so free and liberated. Because looking back, alcohol had me in its shackles. I didn't know how to break these shackles free, because I felt like I couldn't go out and socialize with people without it. I felt like I couldn't get through the pain that I was feeling without it. I felt like I couldn't have friends without it. It felt like it almost was running my life for a second instead of me running my life. But it's funny how, looking back, I am able to socialize with people even better without alcohol. I feel like my social anxiety has actually improved because I don't rely on something to feel like I can talk to people. I feel like I was able to address the actual problem instead of putting a band-aid on it. I figured out who my real friends were. I was actually able to address the pain that I was feeling instead of just running away from it. So I hope that you got so much out of this video. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you go watch this video on the screen and subscribe to join the Swole Squad.